are with you Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We recap all the biggest storylines. We look ahead to games coming up on ESPN Plus. We, of course, always talk Premier League as well. Myself, Kay Murray, and Janusz Michallik here. And we'll be talking Premier League title race today, as well as looking back on some talk from Wayne Rooney, who has not held back in a recent interview. But Janusz, it's great to be with you, and it's great to be talking about a 3-horse race in the Premier League. You've got Arsenal and Liverpool tied on 64 points, Arsenal ahead on goal difference, and just a point behind them, the defending champions, Manchester City. What have your thoughts been on it overall and where we're at this stage?
Well, I mean, we've been talking now for years about Liverpool, Manchester City, and the fine margins, and Manchester City ultimately coming on top. And here we have Arsenal that's trying to crash the party, and I think that is wonderful, and that's why it's so difficult at this moment, because Arsenal has learned quite a bit. They've from last season. They've improved, of course, with the likes of Declan Rice and everybody else getting a little bit older, a little bit wiser, with a little bit more belief, and even the latest win, very, very late, showed the sort of character that I think maybe was missing for many years for them. So, and then Liverpool, who shouldn't even be here, because I can't imagine that anybody had Liverpool in the midst of the rebuild, right, at this stage, being one of the favorites, and even more so with Jurgen Klopp announcing mid-season basically that he is leaving, which is usually a very negative news, and here we are with a possible fairy tale ending for Liverpool. So it's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely wonderful. We often talk about Premier League, what it brings us, but this is a special season.
When it comes to the run-ins that the three have got, Janusz, and we're going to go a little deeper on that, who do you think's got it easiest?
Well, I think Manchester City has the easiest run for sure. I mean, we'll be much smarter and wiser, obviously, after the next next game after the international week, because it is Manchester City at home to Arsenal. So that will tell us a lot. But aside from that, I think it's by far the most predictable, I would say, and easiest schedule of the three.
So who's got the hardest?
Well, this is the hard part, right? I mean, because there's very little to differentiate the two between Liverpool and Manchester and Arsenal. On one hand, I worry about Arsenal because the away games to Brighton, Wolves, Spurs, and Manchester United, and even that last game home against Chelsea, it's not going to be easy. When you look at Liverpool, what worries me is not just the injuries, but we're looking at that Everton game that's been postponed. Most likely will be played at the end of April, midweek, which means that Liverpool will be away to Fulham, away to Everton, and away to West Ham. 3 away games, which worries me. And then it follows Spurs at home, and then Villa away. So I want to say Liverpool a little bit, because you look at the FA Cup, we'll see where they are, the Europa League. Not that Arsenal can, get through, but. So it's so Liverpool and Arsenal very, very tight there. If you press me, I'd say Liverpool a little bit because of their injury situation.
So if I'm to ask you today, who's going to win the league? Who do you say?
Manchester City.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we keep putting you to task every week, Janusz. We're going to go game by game with each team, and you're going to give us win, lose, or draw. Don't worry that we're not going to have to do the maths. That's what our producers are going to do behind the scenes for us, and they're going to bring it up to us at the end. So let's start with Arsenal, because they are top. They're on 64 points. They've got a goal difference of plus 46 right now. They've scored more goals than the other two. They've conceded less goals than the other two as well. Mm-hmm. So let's go through this list that we've got. March 31st, away to Man City.
Manchester City is going to win that game.
Okay, so it's a loss for Arsenal. Luton at home.
They will beat Luton. Win for Arsenal.
Okay. Away to Brighton.
Ooh, which Brighton's going to show up. I do think that it's going to be wide open. I'll give this a draw.
I'll give that a draw. Aston Villa.
Ooh, I actually think that they'll beat Villa.
You think they'll beat Villa, so that's a win. Away to Wolves.
Oh, okay, I'll give him a win. My math's not going to add up to. Well, I mentioned.
Oh, don't worry, they're good.
They'll beat Wolves. Spurs are next. That's going to be a special game, and that's going to be a draw in that one.
Okay, and the North London derby away from home, so that's a draw for you. Bournemouth.
Bournemouth is going to be a win at home.
Away at Old Trafford to take on Manchester United.
Yeah, I worry about that game. I haven't given them any losses. I don't know, but I'll give that a draw. I think
You
Manchester
gave them a
United.
loss to City.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's going to be a draw. They'll draw points away at Old Trafford.
Okay, Everton, May 19th.
They'll win that. Chelsea, I worry about. Obviously, it depends what that game means to them. But whew, I'll give them a win against Chelsea.
Okay,
I'm hoping that they'll be there in the end, and it's going to be meaningful, and they'll beat Chelsea.
So let's pause for a minute while we are on Arsenal. What are your thoughts on their latest win?
Well, I mean, obviously, it was late. It always felt like they were going to find a way. I think, everybody was sweating just a little bit, but I mean, they've dominated. I think Mikel Arteta understands now his team. It doesn't really matter who's playing, who's injured, what combination he uses. Kai Havertz is coming good at the right time. All the players, the key players are performing. Again, Martinelli's gone. That doesn't seem to be a problem. We've seen that with Gabriel Jesus. The key is a good defense, great at set pieces, and it's encouraging, right? That's why we can't put them away to a degree.
All right, so I just want to stick with them because I'm just interested to know what you think of some of Arteta's choices this season with regards to lineups, with regards to player management, and in particular, the goalkeeping situation and Aaron Ramsdale.
It shows that he was 100% right, even though that 90% of us said that he was wrong, right? Because, I mean, Ramsdale last season, it was very, very good. When it first happened, there were question marks who's going to be number one. I think we're on this show, we felt that Raya was going to be number one. It wasn't all great to start with, but he stuck with him, and he was right. Look how many clean sheets Raya has had so far. I'm not even talking about this, the latest episode where there was a howler on his part, right? But I think he got it right, and we pushed back. Everybody pushed back. Everybody felt bad for Ramsdale, but he was absolutely right. The second decision to me was Gabriel. Remember, I mean, Timber was obviously, wasn't injured just yet. I think in the eyes of Arteta, he didn't play him early in the season. He felt that he was going to maybe find a different combination there, but then he admitted his mistake, partially, I suppose, because of the injury to Timber. But right now, I mean, you have to say that kind of Saliba has been quiet. I'm not saying that Saliba has been playing badly, but remember last season, it was all Saliba, how great he's been. But in fact, for me, the leader of that defense is Gabriel, not just because he scores on set pieces, but because of his defending as well. So to be quite honest, I don't think that Mikel Arteta has put a foot wrong. I don't think there's one player that he has misjudged. In fact, he made Jakub Kiwior a left back. He made him better. He has trusted him, right? Kai Havertz, who we all thought, well, okay, for that money, we need more. Well, he's given him more. He continues to give him chances. Really, I can't think of one decision that Mikel Arteta has made so far where I could knock it.
Okay, let's get to Liverpool's run in then, because as mentioned, they are level on points with Arsenal right now. But let's take a look at what's ahead for Jurgen Klopp's men. So March 31st, Brighton at Anfield.
They will beat Brighton at home.
Sheffield United at home.
They will beat them as well.
Okay, Old Trafford versus Manchester United.
Well, those are always difficult, and I think they'll draw at Old Trafford.
So we've got a win, and a draw. Crystal Palace at home.
And Crystal Palace, yeah, they'll win that game.
Okay, a win there. Away to Fulham.
I'll give them a win.
A win. Away to West Ham.
Well, see, that I think there's an Everton game there. I'm going to take a chance and say that's where it's going to be scheduled, which they'll win, by the way. And then I think that they'll drop points against West Ham away. Draw. Okay.
Right. So it's a draw West Ham, and when it does come to the end there, you'd have a win against Everton.
Yeah, but again, that Everton game could, every game has a consequence. So I know we're doing this for fun.
I know.
It's easy to say, but every game has a consequence. That's three. Remember, that's 3 away games for Liverpool. I think it'd be very difficult to get all 9 points away from home for Liverpool.
So
Just making a note.
But just to reiterate, it's a draw at West Ham and a win at Everton. Just off the top of your head. Okay.
Correct.
Spurs.
I worry about that game. I think it's home, but it's going to be a draw.
Okay. Away to Aston Villa.
Yeah, logic tells you that that's the game I should worry about. But I just, my gut feeling is that, no, I'll give this a draw as well. I think Villa will have tons to play for, and that's not going to be it. So I'm giving 2 draws to Spurs and Villa.
All right. And then Wolves.
Yeah, that's the last game at home. It's going to be the last game, I think, for Jurgen Klopp. It's going to be a special occasion, regardless where Liverpool are at that stage. It's going to be a celebration, and they will beat Wolves.
All right. So while we're on Liverpool, then let's talk about the squad, its depth, the injuries this season, and the impact that will end up having come the end of the season.
Well, it hasn't so far. As I said, it's fairy tale. We've seen the injuries, after the announcement. We've seen the academy players in what stage in big matches. 5 academy players playing. They were obviously just as surprised as everybody else. Everything is working. But there's going to come a time that even though they're going to recover players as well. You look at Mo Salah is coming back. He's going to be playing. Konate is probably not a long term as well. Trent maybe here and there. We'll see him. But I think you end up paying the price for everything that's happened, that energy, that you've got, you've garnered, some of the wins that you wonder, wow, how did that happen? The last moment wins. I think Liverpool will pay the price. It's almost better than it should be, isn't it? Right? Because as I've said, they shouldn't be here. I just think there's a tragedy that Klopp is leaving, because if he stayed, Liverpool would have been odds on to win the Premier League next year with him and with this team that's developing right now, that's getting the experience, some of the young players and some of the changes they would have made. So it's tragic, but I think at the end of the day, there's nothing bad that you can say. What can you say? What can you possibly say about Liverpool to be where they are in the table right now? It's just... I think it's absolutely superb, regardless of where Liverpool ends up. It's way more than anybody could have expected.
Yeah, they've done so well. Let's talk about the last teams running then. Manchester City, who are 3rd right now, a point behind the top 2. But obviously, we know what we've seen in late stages of the season from Manchester City. That's something we'll get to. So let's go through the running here. So you've got them winning this game against Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a win against Arsenal. What about Villa?
They'll win. They'll beat Villa at home.
Who wins at Crystal Palace?
They'll win that. They'll beat Luton at home.
So win at Spurs.
Yeah, that's their bogey team. Although the last game was, it's finally for Pep. I think it was the last game. But yeah, that's I worry enough to make it interesting to give that a draw.
Okay. At Nottingham Forest.
A win.
Wolves.
Wolves, a win.
Okay. Away to Fulham.
They'll beat Fulham away. They'll beat West Ham at home.
Okay. And what this Brighton game?
And Brighton game, De Zerbi. Pep tells me that he's the greatest, right? After him, he's the best. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna need in the end. So I'm gonna kind of say that by then they'll be probably champions. So I'm gonna give this a draw.
All right. So you're giving that a draw.
In case, maybe even
no
for drama.
No losses in there, which means you're seeing the City surge of recent years in this final stage of the season.
And it's, and we saw, there's enough to worry about. We saw that in a game against Liverpool, where they were played off the pitch by Liverpool in the second half. A Liverpool team that's been, that was missing so many key players that could have made an even difference, right? Had they had him off the bench, the Jotas of the world, or Trent's available, they would have won that game anyway. And so this is not a team that's as dominant as they were last year, but I still think good enough. And now, those antennas that I often mentioned are going to be up, and I just think looking at that schedule, they're going to see a way. It's possible they lose somewhere. Even if they were to do that, I still think given that schedule and looking at Liverpool and Arsenal, they're still favorites for me.
Okay, do you care to guess, Janusz, with your predictions, what order the table will look at the end of the season, 1 through 3?
What?
Do you care to guess, after what you've just told us, we've added up, we've tallied the points, how the table will look on what you've just reckoned come the end of the season? Who's 1, 2?
Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal. I don't know.
You're right. Okay, you've got, with what your running is, with what you've guessed here, you've got Manchester City winning it on 89 points. You've got Liverpool second on 86 points and Arsenal third on 85 points. Even though you said Mikel Arteta hasn't stepped a foot wrong in certain aspects for you, even though they're top of the table right now, you have them finishing third on your predictions here.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Because I've mentioned every game has consequence, right? So, for example, Liverpool are in a great position to put pressure on Arsenal and Manchester City right now. If we just did it without this game by game, right? I mean, look at Brighton and Sheffield, both at home. If they win that, obviously somebody's going to lose points in that game against Manchester City and Arsenal. That puts Liverpool in a great position, isn't it? And then comes Manchester United, and of course, momentum can change things. So, predicting game by game as a former player, when you look at how many games left, 8, 9, or whatever it is, it's not smart in a way, because it will change. The psychology of it will change dramatically. I think Liverpool is going to have psychological advantage in the next 2 games for sure, because they'll win it as I say it, and I think they'll be praying for Arsenal and Manchester City to draw. That's going to be absolutely perfect for them.
And guys, Janusz at home knows better than everybody that basically this is just something that you can play along with at home. Obviously, things can change. There can be injuries, which we hope won't happen. One result could change the psychology for a team going into the next one. This is just a bit of fun, but it is funny that even though you've done it that way, Janusz, you've still got City winning it, and you've proven that that's how you think things are going to play out with the way it all is. But yeah, I just think the only last thing I would like to ask you here on this whole point is, given that it is City and Arsenal facing each other so soon, would your mind change somewhere on the psychology of Man City if Arsenal were to win that game?
Oh yeah, I mean it would absolutely change quite a bit, But see, the thing is, I worry about that. The international break stops Arsenal momentum a little bit more. My gut feeling is after a break like this, it's going to be for Manchester City, because their lineup changes so much. It almost doesn't matter who starts, right? They have that understanding. I think it's going to be a lot easier to pick up pieces after that. Of course, with the international break, there could be injuries. We don't know that. But I just think that Arsenal would wish to play this game almost immediately because they do have this kind of momentum. If you had to go on momentum, I mean, you'd say Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City as it is right now. So I never think that the international break comes at a great time for anybody, but given the fact that Liverpool and City just drew, and now we have this massive game for them, I think that Arsenal loses out on that.